When we last left our heroes, they were stealing water from a gas station. Hello everybody and welcome to the second Road Trip Stories, and instead of just doing this long-winded ass intro, let's just get into it, okay? It's about time to just tell ya. So let's begin. So after we stole water, it was about maybe 9 o'clock at night, so it was time to go off and find ourselves a campsite. We found a little OHV, which is like BLM land for people who go and ride quads and stuff. And this was actually the first place where we stopped off for a while and just sat around. I mean, I guess not a while. We stayed there for 2 days. We got there one night, stayed there a day, and then stayed there again. And it was really nice because we had just been moving down through California this whole time. So it was really cool to just sit in a spot for a while. On the second day, I decided to climb up this hill. I called it a mountain, and it wasn't a mountain. It was just this little hill that took me maybe 25 to 30 minutes to get up there. And oh my God, it was gorgeous up there. We were in this desert, but I was looking all around and I saw campfires, I saw people riding their quads. There was a point, and I wish I could have gotten this on camera, where a jet flew down through the mountains, and it was so close to the ground. I couldn't actually believe that someone had flown a jet that close. It was actually kind of amazing because it was definitely a jet and it was going really slow. I mean, had I had my camera on me, I would have pulled it out and just recorded that. That would have been one of the most amazing shots I could have possibly gotten on this trip. But I guess it was only for me to keep up here, unfortunately. But yeah. So we get down off the hill. I had actually gone all the way to the top. Natasha had brought her dog, and her dog was starting to get a little tired, so she only went about halfway before she stopped. But we get back down the hill, and it starts to get dark. So we decided it was time to go start gathering firewood and start ourselves up a fire, make some food. Well, we're going around kicking down the dead brush so that we can start a fire, and it was so dark out that I couldn't see what I was kicking. I walk up to this branch that's sticking out of the ground, and I kicked it as hard as I could. The only thing was, I accidentally missed, and I kicked it with my shin. Now, that's bad enough, except for the thing that I kicked was a cactus. And it was, oh my God, it must have been poisonous, because pulling out the thorns wasn't that bad. It was the itching and burning afterward. And it burned for a couple hours. I was like, oh my God, I regret kicking that thing. So we get a fire going. Natasha's making these jalapeno burgers, which were excellent. Oh my God. A little dusty, but that wasn't her fault. I mean, it was a desert, of course. In the middle of the night, as she's cooking, her chair flies into the fire. The wind had knocked it over and threw it into the fire. Now, I got some pretty good reflexes, so I went and grabbed it and pulled it out real quick. The only thing was, I grabbed the burning plastic at the top of the chair and ripped it out. I only touched it for a couple seconds, but it didn't matter. I had burned plastic onto the palm of my hand, and we wrapped me up. And at the end of the day, I ended up looking like a boxer, which was pretty cool. So we hit the sack, and the next day we wake up, and the first thing Trevin and I notice is Natasha has a black eye. There's a cut underneath her eye, and her it's swollen. We're just like, what the hell could have possibly happened in the middle of the night? How did you even do that? It turned out, in the middle of the night, she got out of her car to go pee or rearrange some blankets or something, and when she got back into the car, she had her head halfway out the car and then slammed the car door and slammed it into her face. So she just wakes up the next day from having beaten herself up. We found it funny that we had so many injuries just in this one little area, so we took a picture, her and I together, and I don't have that picture. I'm going to see if Natasha can send it to me. But I have a photo of me like in the boxing position with my hand all wrapped up, and she's standing in front of the fist with the bruise on her face. Yeah, I gotta see if I can find that photo. So we drive for a few hours and we get to this place called Chula Vista, which was kind of nice. It was actually one of the first times that I felt like, oh my God, yes, finally we're on the trip, which was weird. It like hit me in Chula Vista of all places. But I think it was like the tropical weather and everyone was Hispanic. In a way, it kind of reminded me of being in a different country. I mean, I knew I was in California, but the tropical air and the people around, it was just like, oh my God, I'm like a foot taller than everyone else again. It's like I'm back in Vietnam. This is really cool. Either way, we're driving down the freeway, and all of a sudden, Natasha stops. she puts on her blinker and she signals us to get off the road. So we pull off the road and we're sitting there waiting, trying to see what the hell's going on. She gets out of her car and starts vomiting. And we're sitting there like, oh my God, what the hell happened? I mean, I figured maybe, I mean, she was drinking a decent amount on this trip, so maybe she got sick from the alcohol. It could also be that the strike to the face, you know, like that can make people sick. It was just interesting because we had been around each other that whole time. If one of us were to get sick, we all would have gotten sick. You know, there were a couple nights we all spent it in my van, so this was just really bizarre. Once Natasha was ready again, we finally entered Chula Vista and we went to a Walmart. We wanted to pick up some groceries and you know, resupply on some stuff. Well, we go put our groceries away and we walk through the parking lot to hit a Subway when we notice there is this red Dickies suitcase just sitting there, brand new. I run over to it and I open it up. It still has tags on it and I'm like, did someone try to steal this and then just leave it here? Natasha goes, oh my God, I want that. I want that. And I'm like, all right, it's yours. Take it. She goes, well, the only thing is I don't have any room in my car. And I was like, well, I've got room in my van, so I guess that belongs to me. She's like, wait, no, you could hold on to it for me. And I was like, yeah, or I could hang on to it for me. She's like, you son of a bitch. She was annoyed that I actually ended up keeping that briefcase. And that briefcase came in handy. We actually put all of our bread in that thing. It was a love-hate relationship with that thing. It took up a lot of room, but it did also like consolidate some of our stuff. So it was kind of a nice find. So we get to the Subway, we sit down and we're eating, and Natasha's not eating much because of course she's feeling a little sick. And I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, we're all kind of thirsty. So I went and grabbed some water cups and I start filling our cups with water. We sit down and we're enjoying our food. All of a sudden, the guy behind the counter turns around and he says, hey, I wouldn't do that. And we're all sitting there like, wouldn't do what? What are you talking about? He's like, it's just not worth it. And we're like, what are you talking about? He goes, I just cleaned the water machine. So there's a bunch of chemicals in there and it's going to make you sick if you drink that water. Which, why not start with that? That'd have been a good place to start, right? Not only that, we had already drank like a cup and a half at this point. So we're sitting there like, okay, cool. Nice. So I guess we're just going to get sick now. You just poisoned us and didn't even let us know. So after we eat, we head back to the van and we're all sitting there deciding, okay, are we going to tuck in for the night or what are we going to do? And I was like, you know, we haven't just stopped and enjoyed a city yet. I know it's 8 o'clock, but like, what's the bar life like here? You know, why not just go try to find a bar and just hang out for a few hours? I mean, that wouldn't be so bad. Both of them are like, hell yeah, let's do that. So we're looking on our phones, trying to find the nearest bar, and 2 blocks away, there was a bar, right? So we're like, we don't even need to drive. Let's just walk. So we walk down the street. It's getting a little chilly. Natasha's still feeling kind of sick, but we finally hit this bar, and it's closed. Can't go there. So we look again, and another block down the way is another bar, and we finally get there, and it's completely open. We get into the bar and we're just kind of settling in. There's a big TV or a projector on the wall. There's some people kind of lounging around having a good time. And there are a couple pool tables in there. And I was like, hell yes, pool. Trevin comes back from the bar and hands us each a shot. He had bought us shots of Jameson. So we all clink and drink and we're like, all right, let's go play some pool. So we head over to the machine. I throw some quarters in there and it's Trevin versus myself. He breaks and instantly makes like 2 of his balls in. And then he just keeps making them. He clears half of the table and then he messes up. I'm sitting there like, okay, that's annoying. I'm pretty good at pool, but like, what the hell? How am I supposed to come back from this? So I get prepared and I'm lining up my shot and I hit it and I instantly miss. And I'm just like, oh no. Trevin devastated me. His second turn, he completed the game. He just instantly won. And I was just like, I'm not normally a sore loser, but this event made me a sore loser. And I think Trevin could see it. I was just like, why? How does that happen? Why? Like, I've never seen a game like that, dude. Like, I was almost in tears. And he goes, dude, I'll buy us another game. And I'm like, I'm happy for you, but like, that wasn't even fun. That was just sucked. He made me a poor sport, man. Like, just right there, I was like, ah. So we play a few more rounds and we're having a great time. And eventually we notice that Natasha has disappeared. And we start looking around and we're like, wait, where did she go? So Trevin's like, well, I have to use the restroom anyway. I'll go that direction and you can kind of scour around the bar. Now, this bar was tiny. It wasn't like some large scale thing. It was like one room and then an outside patio. So I was like, okay, I'll go check the smoking area. So I go outside, and again, it's just like this patio with a roof over it and some ceiling fans. And I go out there and I see these two Hispanic ladies sitting down smoking some cigarettes. And I walk over to them and I was like, hey, how's it going? You know, I had some alcohol by this point. I have no problem talking to anybody. I was like, what are you guys up to? They're like, oh, we're just sharing some stories, talking about our band. And I'm like, wait, a band? Hang on, before we continue, have you guys seen a redhead walk by? And they're like, no. I was like, all right, so tell me about this band. So I sit down with them, and one of them was a guitarist and lead singer for a band that she was, I don't know if she'd started it, but she had like a local group of friends. She apparently played at a few bars in the area, and I thought that was awesome. I was like, that's fascinating. I've always wanted to do something like that. Her other friend was a DA agent. And as soon as I'm talking with these ladies, I was like, you two are really interesting. Hang on, I'll be right back. I jump up and I run back in the bar, and I see Trevin is just kind of like looking around. Like now he's lost both of his friends. He's like, what the hell? And he makes eye contact and he's like, oh, hey. And I was like, come here, come here. And then I see Natasha and I was like, come here, come here. So I haul them out and we all sit down, and I was like, okay, so these are my friends. This is Trevin, this is Natasha, and I introduced them to these friendly ladies that I just met. The ladies are sitting there telling us stories for a couple hours, and it was great. The DA agent was really interesting to me. Like, don't get me wrong, I thought they were both very interesting, but we're sitting there chatting, and the DA agent is telling us about what she does. And apparently what she did was she would go onto roadside accidents and take notes of what happened. So if someone gets in a car accident or someone dies, she's on site. She sees dead bodies all the time. And I was just like, whoa, go into that. Like, what do you see? She was telling us horror stories. She's like, well, there was this one guy who was trying to cross the freeway. And I don't know why he decided to do it. I don't know if he was drunk or whatever. But he starts sprinting across the freeway and a car hit him. And then all the cars afterward hit him until they started swerving out of the way. The dude was paced. She kept saying this. I don't know if she was traumatized by this because she wouldn't stop saying it. She was like, he was paced. The dude was paced. And then her friend would take over and be like, yeah, I mean, I never saw any of the photos, but apparently there was nothing left of him. Her friend jumps back in. The dude was paced. I was like, holy hell. So she tells us this other story, and this one, I was just like, what the hell? This one, she's like, we never found out how this was possible. But apparently what had happened was this guy was riding a motorcycle, and a car came up from behind him and smashed into the back of his bike. He flew back, hit the car, and then fell onto the asphalt, and that's the scene, right? Well, the cops get there, and the man looks pristine. He's dead. But he looks like he had not been hit at all. There were no marks on him whatsoever, except for the fact that his whole left arm was detached from his body and in the car that hit him. Somehow his arm popped off and entered the other car. Now you might think, okay, well, the glass must have broken and it allowed the arm in. She told me that the only mark on this car, at least on the glass, was a tiny crack on the windshield. She was flabbergasted. She's like, I don't know how it could have happened. I don't know if the windshield lifted up and his arm went right under at the right time and then went back down, and that's how the crack was there. I don't know if like the windows were rolled down and then he rolled them back up when he exited his vehicle. We don't know what happened, but somehow this pristine man, his arm ended up in the console of the car. That one was, I was just like, how in the world does physics operate like that sometimes? That's just insane. So the ladies asked us, what brings you down to Chula Vista if you guys are from Oregon? And we said, well, we're on a road trip and we're actually going to stay the night at Walmart tonight. And they're like, no, don't stay in the Walmart parking lot in Chula Vista. I promise you that is just not a good idea. There's a marina just down over here. There's going to be a little boat dock, and you can actually park there at the park and no one will bother you. So long as you all stay in the van and pull the curtains and everything, no one's going to mess with you. So we're like, hey, that sounds pretty good. Where is it? They're like, it's just 15 minutes down the road. And if you like, we can take you there. I was like, oh, I really appreciate it. I seriously do, but no, we'll find it. One of them even said, if you want, send me a text whenever you get there if you don't like the spot, and I'll tell you my address and you can stay in my parking lot. I was like, what the hell? Like, you guys are so sweet. But no, we'll be totally fine. Seriously, thank you. So we get out, we walk back all the way to the Walmart, and it was freezing cold by this point. We get in the cars and we drive over to this marina. Now, we sat in the cars and we were going to watch ourselves a movie before we went to bed. It was maybe around 12 o'clock, but we weren't in any rush in the morning, so we figured, yeah, that's what we'll do. So we're sitting there watching the movie, and every maybe 30 minutes, Natasha is getting up, opening the van, and running out into the park and throwing up. It got to a point where we tried to go to bed, and she kept doing this. So eventually she was like, look, I'm not going to keep waking you guys up because I have to puke. I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to my car, and whenever I have to throw up, I'm just going to get out. You know, you guys have a good night. And if someone comes and messes with me, fine, whatever, so be it. So I wake up the next morning and my van is empty, and I'm hearing people walking around the marina. I open up the windows and I see this marina is beautiful. I don't think I took any photos of it, but it was very pretty out there. I was wondering where Trevin had gone, and he came back maybe 10 minutes later. He had apparently taken a walk around the bay and wanted to just have some alone time. Natasha was still in her car and she was feeling miserable. So we came up with a game plan. What is it we're going to do today? We could keep going south and just keep driving like we had been, or it's been about 5 days since we were in Red Bluff, and that was the last time we took a shower. Maybe we should hit a Planet Fitness. So that was the goal. We go find a Planet Fitness, we all take some showers, and then we come back and we're like, okay, now what? So we found ourselves a laundromat, since it had also been a bit of time since we've done some laundry. By this time, it had gotten dark. It was around 6 or 7 o'clock, which kind of makes sense by that time of the year. It got dark around 6 or 7, but we're sitting there finishing up our laundry when Natasha walks up to us and she says, guys, I feel really selfish. I feel terrible for asking this, but I need a favor. I'm so sorry. And we're like, hey, look, we're all in this together. What's going on? She goes, well, I'm seriously sick. I'm very sick, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to last on this trip. I want to keep going with you guys. I really do. She's got tears in her eyes as she's saying this. She's like, I don't want to leave, but I can't stay in the car again. I can't sleep in the vans. I need a room. I need a bed. Is there any way that we could get a hotel? And we're all sitting there like, that's not that big of a deal. She goes, look, I'll even pay for it. I'll pay for all of it. And we're like, look, we're not going to make you do that. Okay? She's like, I'm paying for most of it. I'm the one who's making us do this. And we're like, okay, look, everything is fine. Yes, let's go find ourselves a hotel. So as we're finishing up laundry, Natasha is looking for hotels. And she finds this little shabby crack called the Red Door. I don't know if you guys have ever stayed in a Red Door before, but it is like the stereotypical shady hotel, right? We get there, we get our rooms, and we go up to the room, and I'm sitting there like, okay, so there are 2 beds. Trevin, you take one of them. Natasha, you take the other one. I'll go into my van and grab my trifold mattress, and I'll bring that up here, and I'll just sleep on that. We figured that'd be good. And I'm sitting there, and I pull all my bedding upstairs, and I'm smelling my blankets. I had forgotten to wash my blankets when we were at the laundromat, and oh god, that's the worst they'd ever smelled. Oh my god, it was terrible. Like it was like someone vomited and sweated all over them. It was gross. So I'm sitting there like, okay, I have to clean these. So that night, as I'm telling everybody that I need to clean my clothes, Natasha goes, oh, by the way, I'm feeling a lot better because I smoked some weed. Would you like some? And I was like, yeah, I'll take some. So she gives me her vape pen and I smoke some weed. And it was the first time I'd smoked weed on this trip. So I got a little like, ooh, okay, now I'm just kind of being around. Like I'm in the moment I'm in and not really thinking straight. I'm like in this non-Euclidean place in my head now. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, I need to wash my blankets. Okay, so here's a good idea. I'm going to grab my blankets, I'm going to throw them in the bathtub, and then I'm going to take the hand soap that they have in there, and I'm just going to run that over the blankets and wash them that way. So I'm sitting there washing the blankets in the bathtub with the shower when I realize, and I'm pretty high at this point, that this is one of the shadiest, most disgusting hotels that I've ever stayed in. I mean, I was in Vietnam, okay, and none of the hotels in Vietnam were this bad. And I'm looking down at the bathtub like, actually, I wonder not what, but how many STDs I'm wrapping my blankets in right now, just washing them in this tub. Ugh. Okay, this is a bad idea. So I hang the blankets up and I let them dry. And I was like, you know what, guys? I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to go see if they have a laundromat here. So I run downstairs and sure enough, they do. The door's locked though. So I walk over to the manager and I said, hey, sir, I need to get into the laundromat downstairs. Could you unlock it for me? And he goes, sure. Now, this was weird. I don't exactly know how to explain this interaction. The guy looked at me like he had never seen anything like me before. Again, I don't know how to explain that because I'm sitting there like, what? Does he know that I'm high? Like, that's where your mind goes when you're high, of course. You're like, oh my God, everybody knows. And I'm not worried about that. I mean, we're in California. Nobody gives a crap, right? But I'm sitting there like, even if he knew I was high, how is that a deal? Like, he's in the shadiest spot I've ever seen in my life. Like, everyone probably comes in here high. But he's giving me this look like he's trying to figure me out. I'm like, what do you gotta figure out? I want into the laundromat. Either way, he walks over, he unlocks the door, and as he's walking away, I had to follow him to go back up the stairs to go get my blankets. So I'm following him, and he kept turning around. But not turning around like, okay, is this guy following me or something? But turning around like, okay, wait, what is this guy? What is this guy? And he did it a couple times, and I'm just sitting there like, hi, what? Like, what? Do people, are they just not this polite in your area or what? Like, you expect me to yell at you and I'm just being like a good person? Or like, I just didn't, I was going through my head like, why is this such a big deal? And I know that sounds weird. You could probably sit there and be like, okay, Barry was really high and making more out of this than, but I wasn't out of my mind. Like, I picked up on something and I couldn't figure out what it was. I don't know, the guy was just interested in me for some reason. Either way, I pull my blankets and pillowcase out of the room, I haul them downstairs, and I toss them in the laundry, and I just sit down there and I'm doing the laundry. Once they're done, I haul them back upstairs, I let them dry, and I went to bed. The next morning, we wake up and we go to check out, and everyone in the hotel is asking Natasha, hey, are you okay? Hey, if you need help, you let us know, okay? We can call the cops. Her black eye had still been there, okay? So these people, and I think of the situation too. Like, we're in this shady little shack, right? We're walking down the stairs, and there's Natasha, this little redhead girl with a black eye, followed by two men taking her and packing things in a van, right? So people kept stopping her like, hey, seriously, you just signal to me. Blink twice. They literally said that to her. Blink twice if you need help. We'll call the cops, okay? I'm sitting there like, okay, honestly, if it were me, I would probably think the same thing though, because her excuse was kind of stupid, you know? Like if someone came up to me and I said, oh my God, you have a black eye, are you okay? And she goes, oh, I just hit my face with my car door. Did you? I'd be like, did you? Really? Is that what happened? Because that doesn't seem... I mean, you got a couple of big dudes right behind you, so you sure? Blink twice, okay? So as we're packing up the cars, Natasha is going and she's checking out of the hotel, and I'm just sitting up against my van and I'm looking around. And I saw more prostitutes than I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, I'd been to Vegas before, and I'd never seen this many. They're walking like ants. You know those little ant farms where you see them moving up and down the aisles? That's what this was. They're just like moving up and down the aisles, room to room, just like walking in. And I'm sitting there looking at this, and Trevin and Natasha are like, well, how do you know they're hookers? How do you know they're not just like staff or something? And I'm like, dude, you can tell. I mean, come on. It's pretty obvious, okay? Like, look what they're wearing. This is very obvious that they're not, you know, staff going to clean rooms. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was profiling, but it just seemed obvious to me. Well, I'm following this one as she goes downstairs. She's this really tall, scrawny kind of hooker prostitute, and she's walking down the stairs. And I wasn't like interested or anything. I wasn't enamored. It was just the way that she looked with this like hotel. It looked like she belonged here. And I know I'm going to hell for saying all this, okay? I already know, okay? So don't judge me too hard. I'm in the situation. I'm judging the situation. I'm sorry. This is my perspective. Either way, I see her walk all the way down from the top floor, down the stairs, and out behind the parking lot. She pulls her pants down, whips out her dick, and starts peeing, starts peeing against a tree. And I'm like, yep. Yep, she belongs here. Oh, God. So we load up the cars, and Natasha walks back to us, and she says, hey, I've got some bad news. I'm just not going to be able to stay with you guys. I can't do it anymore. That night was great. It was exactly what I needed, but I just am getting worse and worse every day. So I think this is where we have to say goodbye. She started crying. We gave her hugs, and we said, hey, it's okay. Don't worry. She's like, I wanted to stay the whole 2 weeks. We're like, don't worry, okay? We're going to share the stories with you. And she even said, like, if I feel better and I can, I'm going to come back. I'm going to meet you wherever you guys are at. And we're like, that sounds like a plan. We get in the cars. She heads back towards Oregon, and Trevin and I head back towards the south. And after saying goodbye to Natasha, that is going to do it for today's set of stories. Thank you guys so much for watching these, and thank you for coming along this journey with me. I can't tell you how amazing it feels. I mean, firstly, it's nice to be there, but then to go back and think about it and be able to share it with you guys, and you guys just come along. I love it. I really, really love it. So seriously, thank you so much for joining me on these, and I will see you in the next set of stories. Bye, guys.